Black women in America are disproportionately affected by intimate partner violence. According to the Violence Policy Center, we as Black women are more likely than any other group of women to be murdered by a current or former partner. Let that sink in. These deaths are happening before the age of 36. That is 5 years younger than the national average. The statistics show that 40% of Black women will face and experience domestic violence in their lifetime. This is compared to 30% of white women that this is happening. We also know that in the Black community, we have to address some stigmas that aren't as widely accepted or understood from a diverse population. Black women face the ideology of not contacting police or law enforcement because of the stigmas surrounding it. We are taught as young women not to bring the system down on Black men. We are taught that the police rates for Black men are disproportionately higher than any other race of men. We know that the school to prison pipeline is very real for our young men. We also know that instead of seeking safety, we as Black women carry the burden of protection and protecting our abusers. Because we've been told that's protecting our community. It is complicated because, again, those Black men face those stigmas. They're criminalized as boys. They're labeled as a threat before they even grow into manhood. They are even told that they are dangerous and stereotyped as such when their passion exudes in a way that is not normal for everyone. They are taught that their emotion is a weakness and not a superpower. They are also seen as just afraid by other people because they don't know their own passions. And so their pain, their frustration, their tears are stifled and silenced. And then it comes out in different ways. Because in the media, they aren't portrayed as actors, they aren't portrayed as leaders or healers or doers of their community. They're portrayed as criminals. They're portrayed as just actors or just athletes. But yet there are so much more. Even when they become successful and college graduates and doctors and leaders and healers of our community, they're still questioned. They're still paid less. They're promoted less. And believe it or not, even when standing in their profession with their white coats or their briefcase, they're said, "Are you sure?" Let that sink in a little bit more. These stigmas, however, don't excuse it. They don't excuse the abuse. But they do explain why Black women feel so inclined to protect those Black men and the communities that they come from. They may feel even a sense of entrapment because they want to carry the burden of protecting the Black men from a world that was already set to destroy them. And so when the violence happens in the home and the women file a protective order, they're called traitors. If they leave, then they gave up too easily on the man and on the family. And they're also being seen as not strong women that they were created to be and taught to be as children. Because a Black woman is always seen as supposed to be strong. They give up the ideology of that two-parent household because that's something that we have been conditioned to know. You stay because they need the two-parent household. And then when they do stay, they're blamed for being weak. They're blamed for being the women that their grandmothers should have been or had been. They're navigating the stigmas of a broken home while also being broken themselves. They're the ones calculating survival, deciding if their kids will see tomorrow, determining on if tonight will be a night that they have to visit the ER to put their children back together. All while trying to raise babies in homes that have been broken and torn and built simply on trauma. But let's take it a little further if y'all are okay with that. And we're going to add some names and faces to this scenario. This year alone, we've seen on social media play out where women have addressed their abusers and then been thrown into the fire. The Cassies, the Hallies, the Megan Thee Stallions. Their stories went viral, not because they were unique, but because they were visible and they were being seen and they were no longer being swept under the rug. It's because they're not just celebrities, they're humans as well. They're women facing these things. But let me take it a step further for you. What about the big mamas and the muddies and the grandmothers and the matriarchs of our community that went through this before these young women were ever seen? Think about those women, the pillars of our community. Many of them stayed simply because they had no other choice. They were financially bound to a man and a system that wanted to see them in the same position. There was a saying when I was growing up, never let a man keep you barefoot and pregnant. Because that's how they control you and that's how they keep you. They were trapped by that system that simply discarded them and their feelings. They were taught that they had no choice but to be left in toxic situations where they were being abused as well as their children. This cycle just repeated and repeated, generation after generation after generation. But this isn't just about domestic violence. This isn't just about a Black woman's violence, domestic violence. It's a public health issue that needs to be addressed. 49% of Black women suffer from heart disease. We are twice as likely to have a stroke. Over 60% of us have high blood pressure. 29 to 44% of Black women face postpartum depression, yet most of them go untreated. And as of 2024, 5 out of every 100,000 Black women will end their life by suicide, a number that is steadily rising. Domestic violence is real, and it's killing our bodies. Again, this is not just a women's issue. It is not just a Black women's issue. It is an American problem. But how do we change it? How do we here change it? We change it by creating it together, creating that change together, today, now, all of us, by normalizing therapy, normalizing counseling, seeking support before a crisis ensues, right? We break the stigma of secrecy of what happens in my house stays in my house. No, we're no longer doing that. What we're doing is we're saying, I need help and I need community. And we do that by using dialogue, fostering conversation, not only in our homes, but with our clergy, with our educators, with our children. We give them the voice and the tools as babies and as youth so that when they are faced with situations, they don't crumble from them. And we teach them that emotions are human. We must be the generation that breaks the silence. Be the safe space our mothers and our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers needed. Because you, because I, because we deserve peace, and we deserve safety, and we deserve, most importantly, to live. Thank you.